House will please be in order. Those persons not having privilege of the floor will please vacate the chamber. Members and guests in the galleries will please rise as we are led in prayer this morning by the gentleman from the 11th, Doug Fehrenbacher.
Let us pray. Lord, as we gather today in this chamber, be with us and guide us in our words and decisions. Guide us to be thoughtful and considerate of each other, recognizing that we share a common goal to do your will and to improve the lives of West Virginians. Please bless these proceedings and be with us this day and this weekend as we travel and serve you in this state. In God's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. If all members and guests will remain standing, we'll be led in the Pledge of Allegiance today by the gentleman from the 74th, Doug DeVault.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If everybody would please join me. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Members and guests may be seated. Reading of the Journal.
Journal of the House of Delegates, Thursday, January 26th, 2023.
Journal of the 69th, Doug Marple. Journal of the 69th, Doug Marple. Okay, if not, are there objections to having the reading of the Journal explained in lieu of having it read? No objections are heard. For the reading of the Journal be dispensed with. Introductions. Introductions. Standing Committee reports. For what purpose does Lady from 19 seek recognition?
Introduction, Mr.
Okay.
Speaker.
Ladies recognized.
If everybody could look into the South Gallery, I have a very special guest today, my cousin Chris Holzen, and he's accompanied by another cousin, Carol Sigmund. Chris is the Senior Advisor for Europe and Eurasia for the International Republican Institute. He is also the Chairman of the Overseas Republicans Organization, the Ukraine chapter. He is based in the Ukraine and came home when the conflict there began, and he will be returning there when the time is right. If the House could please make Chris welcome and Carol welcome, I would appreciate it.
Gentleman from the 77, Doug Statler.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the North Gallery, I have a cousin here today, and I would say to you that he is in his last year at Fairmont State. So all you job employers out there, he's going to be seeking a job. Would the House please make Caden Statler welcome?
Lady in the 49th, Dr. Tully.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker. I am proud to be joined by 2 pages from Nicholas County High School today. If Miss Emma Clark would stand up, and the House will make her feel welcome. And also, Mr. Dayton Hanshaw, please stand up and allow the House to make them feel welcome. They are chaperoned by, today by Michael and Amanda Clark. Thank you.
Gentleman from the 47th, Dr. Longenacre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Those of you who know about the West Virginia Osteopathic School in Wild Wonderful Greenbrier County, you then know that that school receives far less money than WVU does, but it cranks out far more physicians in rural West Virginia than any other medical school. And we're proud to be joined today in the South Gallery by folks from the Osteopathic School in Lewisburg, West Virginia. The Rural Medicine Program. We have Amanda Hoke. If these folks please stand as I call your name. Amanda Hoke, Elizabeth Aronica, Andrew Colbank, Josh Rosenberger, Hunter Shared, Joseph Wing, Skylar Woolman, and Aaron Wood. Would you make them all feel welcome today?
Gentleman from the 43rd, Doug Tony.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Our doctor of the day is Triga Haggerty from Morgantown, from WVU Medicine. If everyone will make her welcome.
Lady from the 63rd, Doug Dittman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to introduce a constituent of mine, Marlena Hickson, Fairmont State. This is not her first time on the floor. She has spent a day as a student with our photographer, Perry, as an intern. Please make her feel welcome.
Gentleman from the 76th, Eka Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Here today in the North Gallery, I believe behind me, we have a number of students, faculty, staff members from Fairmont State University, and also we have a number of representatives of the Fairmont State University Foundation who braved the elements. I guess it's pretty bad today, so be safe going home. But please, will the House make them feel welcome?
Gentleman from the 79th, Eka Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of delegates Walker, Williams, and myself, I wanted to welcome a member of the Montague County Democratic Executive Committee who's up in the gallery there, Barbara Green. If the House would please make her welcome.
Are there further introductions? Gentleman from the 25th, Eka Hornbuckle.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I have a page with us. I actually think she ran in the back. Mrs. Casey Lockhart from Spring Valley High School down in Huntington, West Virginia. She's on the golf team, she's on the dance team, and she also has her father with us today, Mr. J.R. Lockhart. Would you all please make them feel welcome?
Further introductions? If not, standing committee reports.
Your Committee on Energy and Manufacturing has had under consideration House Bill 2870, correcting a reference relating to siting certificates for certain electric generating facilities, and reports back a committee substitute therefore with the recommendation that the committee substitute do pass.
Report to be received.
Your Committee on Energy and Manufacturing has had under consideration House Bill 2817, relating to Public Service Commission jurisdiction over alternative fuel for motor vehicles, and reports the same back with amendment with the recommendation that it do pass as amended, but that it first be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary.
That report will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Judiciary.
Your Committee on Jails and Prisons has had under consideration House Bill 2548, relating to temporary identification cards for released inmates, and reports the same back with the recommendation that it do pass, but that it first be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary.
The report will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Judiciary.
Your Committee on Technology and Infrastructure has had under consideration House Bill 2878 to grant the Fleet Management Division oversight authority of the state vehicle fleet, and reports the same back with the recommendation that it do pass, but that it first be referred to the Committee on Government Organization.
The report will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Government Organization.
Your Committee on Technology and Infrastructure has had under consideration House Bill 2599, creating the Utility Pole Rights of Way and Easement Mapping Initiative, and reports the same back with the recommendation that it do pass, but that it first be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary.
The report will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Judiciary.
Your Committee on Health and Human Resources has had under consideration House Bill 3061, relating to updating the authority of the Foster Care Ombudsman, and reports back a committee substitute, therefore, with the recommendation that the committee substitute do pass.
The report will be received.
Your Committee on Health and Human Resources has had under consideration House Bill 2613, relating to the administration of anesthetics, and reports the same back with the recommendation that it do pass.
That report will be received.
Your Committee on Health and Human Resources has had under consideration House Bill 2718, authorizing the Board of Medicine to promulgate a legislative rule relating to prohibiting sexual misconduct by healthcare practitioners. House Bill 2719, authorizing the Board of Optometry to promulgate a legislative rule relating to optometric telehealth practice. House Bill 2730, authorizing the Board of Registered Nurses to promulgate a legislative rule relating to fees for services rendered by the board, and House Bill 2733, authorizing the Board of Registered Nurses to promulgate a legislative rule relating to advanced practice registered nurse licensure requirements, and reports the same back with amendment with recommendation that they each do pass as amended, but that they first be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary.
That report will be received and those bills will be referred to the Committee on Judiciary. Your
Committee on Health and Human Resources has had under consideration House Bill 2710, authorizing the Board of Dentistry to promulgate a legislative rule relating to dental recovery networks. House Bill 2715, authorizing the Board of Medicine to promulgate a legislative rule relating to licensing of physicians and podiatric physicians and disciplinary procedures for applicants, licensees, credential holders. House Bill 2716, authorizing the Board of Medicine to promulgate a legislative rule relating to licensure, practice requirements, disciplinary and complaint procedures, continuing education, physician assistants. House Bill 2717, authorizing the Board of Medicine to promulgate a legislative rule relating to collaborative pharmacy practice. House Bill 2720, authorizing the Board of Osteopathic Medicine to promulgate a legislative rule relating to osteopathic physician assistants. House Bill 2721, authorizing the Board of Pharmacy to promulgate a legislative rule relating to licensure and practice of pharmacy. House Bill 2722, authorizing the Board of Pharmacy to promulgate a legislative rule relating to Uniform Controlled Substance Act. House Bill 2723, authorizing the Board of Pharmacy to promulgate a legislative rule relating to Board of Pharmacy rules for registration of pharmacy technicians. House Bill 2724, authorizing the Board of Pharmacy to promulgate a legislative rule relating to regulations governing pharmacy permits. House Bill 2725, authorizing the Board of Pharmacy to promulgate a legislative rule relating to inspections. House Bill 2726, authorizing the Board of Pharmacy to promulgate a legislative rule relating to donated drug repository program. House Bill 2727, authorizing the psychologist to promulgate a legislative rule relating to code of conduct. House Bill 2728, authorizing the Board of Registered Nurses to promulgate a legislative rule relating to telehealth practice. House Bill 2729, authorizing the Board of Registered Nurses to promulgate a legislative rule relating to practitioner requirements for assessing the West Virginia Controlled Substance Monitoring Program database. House Bill 2731, authorizing the Board of Registered Nurses to promulgate a legislative rule relating to continuing education and competence. House Bill 2732, authorizing the Board of Registered Nurses to promulgate a legislative rule relating to limited prescriptive authority for nurses in advanced practice. And House Bill 2734, authorizing the Board of Registered Nurses to promulgate a legislative rule relating to requirements for registration and licensure and conduct constituting professional misconduct, and reports the same back with the recommendation that they each do pass, but that they first be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary.
That report will be received. Each of those bills will be referred to the Committee on Judiciary.
Your Committee on Economic Development and Tourism has had under consideration House Bill 3036, increasing the number of districts and the limit on approved costs under the Build West Virginia Act, and reports the same back with amendment with the recommendation that it do pass as amended, but that it first be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Report will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Your Committee on Economic Development and Tourism has had under consideration House Bill 3007 to create the West Virginia Small Business Payroll Tax Credit Pilot Program, and reports the same back with amendment with the recommendation that it do pass as amended, but that it first be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Report will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Your Committee on Economic Development and Tourism has had under consideration Senate Bill 207 relating to state allocation of funding to regional councils, and reports the same back with the recommendation that it do pass.
That report will be received. Are there further standing committee reports? If not, select committee reports, executive messages, Senate messages, resolutions, petitions, bills introduced.
House Bill 3097, banning Medicaid and CHIP from paying for child and adult transgender surgeries.
Gentleman from the 8th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that the further reading of bills introduced be dispensed with, and that each bill be considered as formally introduced and referred to the appropriate committees as indicated on the chamber automation system.
Gentleman from the 8th, Doug Kelly, asks unanimous consent that the further reading of bills introduced be dispensed with, and that each bill be considered as formally introduced and deferred to the appropriate committees as indicated on the chamber automation system. Are there objections? There are no objections. Motions? Unfinished business. Bills on third reading.
Senate Bill 143 relating to Adopt a Stream program.
Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having it read? If not, the gentleman from the 68th, Doug Phillips, to explain the bill.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 143 makes a number of modifications to the Adopt a Stream program, including increasing the number of streams and rivers eligible for adoption and expanding the sources of funding available to support the program. The bill requires a volunteer 17 years of age or younger be accompanied by an adult and makes a number of other minor changes. I urge passage.
Question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? If not, those in favor of passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On that question, there are 90 ayes, 0 nays, and 10 members absent. A majority of members voting in the affirmative. The chair declares that bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Senate Bill 143, relating to Adopt a Stream program.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
Senate Bill 231, transferring administration of West Virginia Small Business Innovation Research and Small Business Technology Transfer Matching Funds program to Department of Economic Development.
Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having it read? If not, gentleman from the 99th, Dr. Clark, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 231 corrects an inadvertent omission in the statutory responsibilities of the Department of Economic Development when the department was created. This bill transfers the administration of the West Virginia Small Business Innovation Research and Small Business Technology Transfer Matching Funds program from the Department of Commerce to the Department of Economic Development, as recommended by the West Virginia Joint Commission on Economic Development. I urge passage.
Question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? If not, those in favor of passage will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, there are 90 ayes, 0 nays, and 10 members absent. Majority of members voting in the affirmative. The chair declares that bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Senate Bill 231, transferring administration of West Virginia Small Business Innovation Research and Small Business Technology Transfer Matching Funds program to Department of Economic Development.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. Gentleman from the 8th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move that the bill take effect from passage.
Gentleman from the 8th moves that the bill be made effective from passage. Those in favor of that motion will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On that question, there are 90 ayes, 0 nays, and 10 members absent. 2/3 of members voting in the affirmative. The chair declares that bill effective from passage. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2221, relating to bankruptcy.
Are there objections to having this bill explained in lieu of having it read? Okay, if not, gentleman from the 51st, Doug Fast, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 2221 involves exemptions in bankruptcy filings. Just by way of explanation, in its simplest form, when someone files bankruptcy, the person filing bankruptcy is a debtor. When bankruptcy is filed, the federal bankruptcy court appoints a trustee. The trustee then looks at the assets of the debtor to see if there are non-exempt assets that can be collected and liquefied to help pay all of the creditors or some of the creditors that are due money. This bill amends the West Virginia Code relating to bankruptcy by correcting an erroneous term, and that erroneous term is in the exemption section, changing unmeasured life insurance to unmatured life insurance contract. The bill also excludes life insurance proceeds paid to the debtor as a beneficiary. It excludes any annuities other than those annuities included in Code Section 3810 4I5, which are paid to the debtor as a beneficiary, and excluding any annuities or life insurance policies that are owned by the debtor which are payable to someone other than the debtor, including any applicable cash surrender value from attachment by creditors in a bankruptcy proceeding. So the exclusions are if the one filing bankruptcy has received life insurance proceeds as a beneficiary, those life insurance proceeds under this bill, regardless of the amount, would not be attachable by the bankruptcy trustee. In other words, the creditors would not be able to receive any of that life insurance money. The same with annuities. If there is an annuity that is providing amounts of money per year annuitized and is making payments to the debtor, that money would also not be attachable by the trustee. And then life insurance policies that are actually owned by the debtor. If the debtor has his own life insurance policy on his life, that money or that policy, if it has like a built-up cash surrender value, that neither would that money be attachable by the creditors. And that is a summary, Mr. Speaker. Be happy to answer questions.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? Gentleman from the 65th, Douglas Martin, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the gentleman please yield for a question?
Yes.
Thank you. Let's say that I won the lottery and I won $1 billion, and I then start owing people money, but I'm getting money from my annuity. I decided to take the annuity and I get payments every month from the lottery. Is that included in this, or is it just for like annuity payments from a life insurance policy?
No, it would be any annuity. So if you won the lottery and that money was placed in an annuity, then my reading of this bill, that money would not be touchable by the creditors, okay? And also, if you had an annuity through a life insurance policy, that money would not be touchable by the creditors. So in either circumstance, if it's an annuity, the way I read the bill, it would not be touchable by the creditors.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman from the 64th, Douglas Burkheimer, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the Vice Chairman yield for further questions?
Yes.
All right, so just so that I understand this right, is give you this hypothetical. I have a parent that has a life insurance policy, and I'm going to get the proceeds from that. They pass away, they leave me $1 million. Is that what we're talking about here?
In that, yes, that is one
and
of the aspects.
then I would then be the one filing bankruptcy, and that $1 million would be protected from that.
That is correct.
Is that protected for the life of that $1 million? So at any point in my life, I receive it when I'm 20 and I file bankruptcy when I'm 60, $1 million would always be able to be exempt from that?
The bill reads as an exemption, all life insurance proceeds paid to the debtor as a beneficiary. It does not qualify that in any manner regarding a time period as to when the debtor received that. So I would have to answer in the affirmative that those funds would not be attachable by the creditors.
Okay. So further, let's say my parent passes away and they just leave me $1 million and it's sitting in my bank account. I subsequently file bankruptcy. That $1 million would then be available to pay my debts. Is that correct?
That is correct. I think, and some of the other exemptions, you're allowed to exempt a couple $1,000 or something very minimal.
Very small, right. Limited exemptions.
But the vast majority of that money would be attachable by the creditors, yes.
Okay, nothing further. Nothing further, thank you.
Thank you.
May I speak to the bill, Mr.
Gentleman is
Speaker?
recognized.
So, this bill before us last year had a cap of $50,000 and passed the House, and so we were saying that you were able to keep $50,000. You're filing bankruptcy, you've got this life insurance policy. Filing bankruptcy is you're trying to get back on your feet, you're trying to restart. $50,000 was a good compromise to get that done. This bill then comes before us again this year. That $50,000 didn't pass the Senate last year, with a cap of $100,000. That was amended out in committee. Now it's unlimited. It's saying that whatever life insurance policy money that I receive from that as a beneficiary, for the life of that money, an unlimited amount is protected from being to pay my debts. And we've got to remember what bankruptcy is. That means that you received things. You received a service, you received a product, and in return you were to pay that to someone else. And you're saying that I can no longer feasibly do that. I need a fresh start. But I want to keep my $100,000 life insurance policy. Doesn't matter what I owe you. Doesn't matter what kind of hardship that I put on you. Doesn't matter that if you subsequently have to file bankruptcy. Does not matter. I'm keeping my life insurance policy. I'm keeping my $1 million. I'm keeping my $5 million, and I'm putting you out of business. I'm putting a hardship on your family. Now, there might be, and there's probably going to be some discussion come up that says that this is going to benefit, or there's problems that needs fixed. Well, let's fix those problems. Let's not just open it wide open to say that you get to keep whatever money comes from your life insurance, and you get your fresh start on the backs of other individuals and other businesses. I think that's absurdity. So I know there's instances that this maybe needs to happen. Let's narrow that. Let's be directed. We're going to talk about business partnerships. We're going to talk about those things. Let's narrow this and let's get it right. I'm urging a no vote. I don't think this is good, and I hope you'll vote no with me. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman from the 16th, Doug Westfall, was recognized.
Speaker, will the chairman of vice chair yield?
Yes.
Okay. Couple questions, and then I'll speak to the bill. Currently, if my wife and I have life insurance, my wife and I have a company, and she develops a disease, cancer, whatever, and we have thousands and thousands of dollars of medical bills we can't pay, and we file bankruptcy, and then she recovers, but I get killed in a car accident, and she filed bankruptcy. Currently, how much of that, we'll say $500,000 life insurance, will she get currently in the state law? It's $8,000, I'll tell you what
I believe right now it's $8,000 would be exempt.
It's $8,000?
Currently, yes.
Okay, if I lived in Virginia or Kentucky or Ohio or Pennsylvania, how much would she get right now? Do you know?
I am not familiar with
She would get all of it.
the other states.
Regardless what the bankruptcy is, she would get all of it. If she lived in one of 34 states in the United States, she would get all of it. I'll use one more example. Say there were 3 of us in a partnership, we own a company, and it's worth $2 million. So the 3 of our partners all have life insurance with each other. Say 1, 2, 3. And the purpose of that partnership life insurance, excuse me, it is if I die, these 2 partners want to stay partners. They don't probably want my wife selling my partnership, and they do not want my wife as a partner, so they have life insurance. I die, the money goes to them, they buy my wife out, now they own the company. But if one of these gentlemen involved in another company was in bankruptcy, how much would he get to buy my wife out? $8,000. I'll answer it. If I lived in Virginia, he would get all of it to buy my company. I'm sorry, $8,000.
Does the gentleman have a question?
I will.
All right,
so, if, again, do you think it's fair for my wife to have to keep my company with this partnership. He can't buy it out, so we're probably going to lose this company because of bankruptcy compared to other states.
Well, that's a policy question you have to make.
Okay, it
I mean,
is.
I can't,
Okay.
I can't
Okay,
render my
thank you,
opinion
Mr.
under
Vice
the
Chair.
circumstances, yes.
Can I speak to the bill, please?
Gentleman is recognized.
Okay. This is my life insurance bill. I went to a meeting with the underwriters of actually Kanawha County last year, and they brought this to our attention, Delegate Packana, Larry Packana, that West Virginia is the lowest of any of the 50 states on life insurance. If I'm involved in a bankruptcy and I buy life insurance to protect my family, my partnerships, whoever, when they inherit that money, if they're involved in bankruptcy, they get $8,000. In 34 other states, it's unlimited. We'd be number 35 to make it unlimited. The purpose of buying life insurance is to protect either your partnership or your wife, your children, different things. There have been a lot of examples by the delegate from Lewis County, I don't know the numbers yet, about, you're going to hurt other people. Okay. Again, I'll go back to my wife and I. We do not own a company, but if we had one and she developed, or if I developed some kind of disease, is it fair for my children and my wife to say, whatever reason we are in bankruptcy? A lot of times it's because of unpaid medical bills, because they can't afford to pay them, because of the cost of medical insurance. But they don't have it or do have it and stuff. So I think it's a good bill. I think it puts us in line with 34 other states. We're an outlier with this. $8,000 is way too much. The delegate from Lewis County said last year we had a $100,000 cap on it. We had a $100,000 cap in committee. It was brought up to us about different things that we're still going to be an outlier. $100,000, a whole lot better than $8,000. But why not be like 34 other states? Why not keep that money here in West Virginia? And one more thing. This puts all the people in West Virginia pretty much on the same playing field. If I had enough money, I could go get a good attorney, and there's good attorneys out here, there's good attorneys in this building right now, that I could bypass this. I could go and set up a trust. I could go to Florida, different states, and set up my trust that the bankruptcy court could not get it. Most of the people in West Virginia can't afford to do that. They can't afford to go get and spend $10,000, $20,000, or $30,000 with an attorney to protect his life insurance. This puts us all in the same playing field. Your people you go back talk to do not have to go get an attorney to set these trusts up. They'll be protected. I'm a big believer in life insurance. I think it keeps people from losing their homes, from losing everything and getting in your poverty. So again, I think it's a good bill. I think it's doing the right thing. It's putting it on the same playing field as 34 other states. So, Mr. Speaker, I urge a yes/no vote.
The gentleman from the 42nd, Dr. Steele, is recognized.
Life insurance. The power of permanent life insurance has been something that's been around in this country and in a lot of other countries, going all the way back to England. It's a very old contract. It's one of the first contracts we ever did, where a group of individuals comes together and says, if something happens to me and I have an untimely demise, the rest of us are going to make sure that my family gets taken care of. It's a contract that you have with the other policyholders. So you pay into a collective, and upon your death, based upon what you paid and what you purchased to begin with, that promise gets carried out some years later. In unfortunate circumstances, maybe it happens a year later. Maybe it's 50 years later. But life insurance is something that's been around for a very, very long time. And there's actually very old court decisions that say, and it's surprising that our U.S. Supreme Court says this, but going back into the 1800s, they ruled a long time ago that the federal government doesn't have the ability to regulate life insurance, that that's a province left to the states. So it's upon us. It's upon us, as it pertains to the bankruptcy code, to regulate this. Now, the bankruptcy code is something else that's been around for a very long time. When we set up our republic, one of the things that we did right off the bat was make sure that we didn't wind up with debtor prisons like we had back over in England, where things got held over your head for a long time. And we picked up on a biblical principle of forgiving debts every 7 years. It was the way that the Jews did in Israel in biblical times. And that's what we base that code off of. Now, what does life insurance do? Life insurance keeps the widow and orphan from being a ward of the state. Now think about that. I've got 5 kids. There's people in here that have a lot of kids. I have a wife that raises them, homeschools them, takes care of them, counts on me to be able to go work every day. And all of a sudden, I'm taken out of here. I think we all remember I had a really bad health scare a couple years ago. I was kind of worried about that going into a 6-hour surgery. But I've got life insurance on me to make sure my family's taken care of. But if we're driving home today, and say I'm driving back to Beckley and I just get hit some black ice and boom, I'm gone. But I'm not gone. I hang on for 6 months in the hospital, and bills and bills and bills pile up. I'm not going to work, so I don't have my income coming in. And all of a sudden, my wife is faced with a bankruptcy, trying to keep a house, trying to keep a car, trying to make sure she can still homeschool her kids. And I go into bankruptcy, and I pass away in the hospital. That money gets paid out to her. Under West Virginia law right now, she gets to exempt $8,000. Let's say I have $700,000 in medical bills. The health scare I had 2 years ago was $200,000. And I was only in the hospital for about 4 weeks. So I want you to think about that. And the gentleman from the 16th is right. Right now, for wealthy people, this isn't a problem. I could sit down with them, write an irrevocable life insurance trust, have the trust set up in Virginia, Maryland, Kentucky, Tennessee, Pennsylvania, Ohio. I don't even have to go that far. I could set the trust up in one of those states, have the assets directed to go to that, whether it be to park the life insurance inside of the trust so the cash value is protected, or to direct the beneficiary to be a trust, name that trust. All those assets are protected from bankruptcy. All those assets are protected from bankruptcy. So who you're really helping out with this bill, it's not the ultra wealthy that are trying to avoid their obligations. They can already do that. Just park the asset in Florida. Let me tell you what else happens with that. Life insurance that could be sold here in West Virginia and premium taxes being paid on that in West Virginia are now going to Florida. And those are big dollars. There's people that pay $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 a year in life insurance to build an asset for future generations, to make sure that what they've worked so hard for, they can protect. They can park that asset right down somewhere else, and then that state's getting your premium taxes. Not us. Not us. So, talking about the creditors real quick. Well, I think that creditors should be paid what they're duly owed. But also, let's remember here, a creditor is someone who loaned someone else money, loaned the debtor money, right? So let's say I go and take a business loan of $250,000, and I tell them about my assets, and they see that I have a life insurance policy when they're underwriting that, and it's got cash value in it, it's permanent life insurance. What they can do is have me sign an assignment of rights right there, that if I do not fulfill my obligations on this loan, they can seize on that asset. This law doesn't change that. All they have to do is take a perfected security interest in the annuity or in the life insurance asset. What we're doing here is providing high-dollar estate planning for the average West Virginian. Somebody that can't afford to come and pay me or the speaker or somebody else $15,000 or $20,000 for some high-end estate planning. Let's do this for the foreman down at the mines, the fella down at the shop that's trying to raise and keep a family, that when he gets in a car accident, or that teacher when she gets in a car accident and she's in the hospital for 4, 5, 6 months, that their family doesn't have to worry about this one asset that they bought to make sure that they be taken care of, that it gets evaporated by an unsecured creditor. And remember that. What we're talking about here is unsecured creditors. Secured creditors aren't going to have a problem with this. They've underwritten it. They've perfected their security interest. They're going to get paid regardless. So let's join what most of the other states have done and make sure that we are providing for our constituents that possibility, that hope is still out there in the worst and most dire of circumstances, and that we don't have folks getting made impoverished, wards of the state, widows and orphans. That's what we're here to take care of, widows and orphans, not someone that didn't perfect their security interests like they're supposed to. Thank you.
Gentleman from the 52nd, Douglas Rowe, is recognized.
Thank you. If the gentleman would answer a question for me, please, sir.
Yes.
In my probate practice, I see life insurance policies all the time, and they're written usually to the heirs with an understanding that this is what you're going to use to pay my funeral bills. This is a very common use of life insurance proceeds, especially when they're, $10,000, $20,000, $25,000, not big policies, but they're there. As I understand it, if the bill doesn't pass right now, they would be capped if the heir that's given the money in the life insurance policy, if it was more than $8,000, then they couldn't, that would not be exempt, and they would lose that life insurance proceeds.
In your example, who's filing bankruptcy?
The heir.
The heir.
The person who's named to get the life insurance. As I understand the bill, it says all insurance proceeds payable to the debtor as a beneficiary. So the debtor's mom has died. She had life insurance, $25,000 to go to her son, and if the son's the debtor, then $8,000 is the only amount that's exempted, and the rest of it's delivered to the estate of the bankruptcy. Is that right?
Unless the insurance policy named the estate as a beneficiary, then it would not be the son's. But if the son is the beneficiary, and he then, in essence, it would be gratuitously paying for the estate's funeral expenses, then yes, that the son could only exempt under current law $8,000.
So an attorney would need to advise the mother that if you pay this to the estate, then your creditors may get to it, but if you pay it to your son, his creditors can get to it and limit his ability to collect any more than $8,000 of the policy to pay on your funeral bills.
Yes, I believe that would be the case in any situation. I mean, even outside of bankruptcy, if the son would receive life insurance proceeds and the son has debts, a creditor, a judgment holder could seek payment from those funds. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman from the 69th, Douglas Marple, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the chairman yield for a question?
Vice Chairman, yes.
If this bill passes, will it put West Virginia in a line and similar to the states around West Virginia with their insurance?
As I said before, I have not studied the laws of the surrounding states, but I am told that the laws of the surrounding states would be in compliance with this bill. That's
Thank you.
the
I think
best
that
I
was
can do.
testified to by the delegate from the 16th. May I speak for the bill?
Gentleman's recognized.
This House, our governor, and the Senate are working to bring industry and business into this state. All the businesses and industries that has been contacted and we're trying to bring into this state are going to bring jobs for the young people, these football players in the gallery, and other young people in this state. All of these businesses that come in here have slews of lawyers that work for them. And one of the things they're going to look at is the insurance laws of the state of West Virginia. And they're going to advise them, you don't want to expose your new executives, your new factory owners, your new business owners the people that work for you or you to these laws of West Virginia that would only limit $8,000 going to your heirs if your company or your people would go into bankruptcy. So it's, for the state of West Virginia, where delegate from Riley County spoke, for the state planning for the people of West Virginia and those who may come here and bring jobs to West Virginia, I urge the passage of this bill. Thank you.
Gentleman from 78, Douglas Strelli.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the Vice Chairman yield?
Yes.
So is there anything in this bill that would prevent somebody from taking all of their money, dumping it into an annuity, declaring bankruptcy the next day, and then protecting everything that they just put into an annuity?
Strict reading of the bill, I believe that could happen.
Okay. That was really the only question that I had. May I speak to the bill?
Gentleman is recognized.
Generally, I would say that I support this. As with anything that exists, we know that there are people that seek to take advantage of it. However, what I can't stop thinking about is the chance that we might save one mother from being swallowed by the massive burden of debt that can exist after an unexpected loss. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Is there further debate on the bill? If not, does the gentleman wish to close debate on the bill? If not, the question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result on this question. There are 78 ayes, 12 nays, and 10 members absent. A majority of members voting in the affirmative. The chair declares that bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute. Committee substitute for House Bill 2221 relating to bankruptcy.
Are there amendments to the title?
Delegate Garcia moves to amend the title.
Question before the House is the adoption of the title amendment. Those in favor of the title amendment, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The ayes have it. Chair declares the title amendment adopted. The title as amended by the House will be and remain the title of the bill. Clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
House Bill 2597, amending performance evaluations of professional personnel.
Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having it read? If not, gentleman from the 43rd, Delegate Tony, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The purpose of this bill is to amend current statute to change the teacher reporting evaluation requirement unsatisfactory to emerging. This would require whoever performs the teacher's evaluation to explain the reason the professional was given emerging or below, along also with constructive medals, and make sure that the professional knows how to improve. So basically what the bill does is when you're doing the evaluation for the employee, that you give the employee why you're giving them that evaluation, why you rank them where you did, and ways that they need to improve upon. That's the bill, Mr. Speaker, and I urge passage.
Question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? If not, those in favor of passage will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result on this question. There are 90 ayes, 0 nays, and 10 members absent. A majority of members voting in the affirmative. The chair declares that bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
House Bill 2597, amending performance evaluations of professional personnel.
Are there amendments to the title?
Delegate Tony moves to amend the title.
Questions on the adoption of the title amendment. Those in favor of adoption of the title amendment will please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The ayes have it. Chair declares the title amendment adopted. The title as amended by the House will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
House Bill 2800, all relating to authorizing legislative rules regarding higher education.
Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having it read? If not, Chair will recognize the gentleman from 77, Douglas Taylor, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, this is just simply a rules bill that the Higher Education Policy Commission and the Community and Technical College Council legislative rules that have been reviewed and authorized by the Legislative Oversight Commission on Education Accountability. Simply put, again, it is a rules bill. It has passed LOCIA and also the Education Committee. So this is a bill, Mr. Speaker, I urge passage.
Question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? If not, those in favor of passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On that question, there were 90 ayes, 0 nays, and 10 members absent. A majority of members voting in the affirmative. The chair declares that bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
House Bill 2800, all relating to authorizing legislative rules regarding higher education.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Are there further bills on third reading? If not, bills on second reading? Bills on first reading.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 83, authorizing tactical medical professionals to carry firearms.
Bill will be advanced.
Senate Bill 132, clarifying criminal offense of harassment.
Bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2017, relating to service of process in child abuse cases.
Bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2436, relating to the implementation of an acuity-based patient classification system.
The bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2509, creating the Uniform Premarital Agreement Act.
The bill will be advanced.
House Bill 2510, to establish the Rare Earth Element and Critical Mineral Investment Tax Credit Act.
The bill will be advanced.
House Bill 2512, transferring the administration of the West Virginia Small Business Innovation Research and Small Business Technology Transfer Matching Funds Program from the Department of Commerce to the Department of Economic Development.
Gentleman from the 8th, Dr. Kelly.
Bill 2512 is the same as Senate Bill 231 that we just passed on third reading. Therefore, I move the bill be tabled.
Gentleman from the 8th moves that House Bill 2512 be laid upon the table. Those in favor of that motion will please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The ayes have it. Chair declares the motion adopted. House Bill 2512 will be laid upon the table. Next bill on first reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2569, establishing the Motorsport Responsibility Act.
The bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2596, to modify when a non-resident student's transfer may be denied.
The bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2832, clarifying appropriate and inappropriate duties for school counselors while also providing the definition of a school counselor.
Gentleman from the 8th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move the bill be postponed one day.
Gentleman from the 8th moves that committee substitute for House Bill 2832 be postponed one day. Is there discussion on the motion? If not, those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. The ayes have it. Chair declares the motion adopted. Committee substitute for House Bill 2832 will be postponed one day. Next bill on first reading.
House Bill 2835, repeal outdated provisions of code relating to the West Virginia Graduate College and Marshall University.
Bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2850, clarifying general education teachers' entitlements for the general education classroom that provide academic support for students identified as having an exceptionality whose least restrictive environment remains the general education classroom.
Bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2890, modifying student discipline.
Bill will be advanced. Are there further bills on first reading? If not, leaves of absence. Gentleman from the 8th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for our colleagues Bridges, Capito, Ellington, Honecker, McGeehan, Riley, Ward, Williams, Scaff, and Griffith.
Are there objections to leaves of absence being granted? No objections are heard. Those leaves of absence will be granted. Introductions. Gentleman from the 22nd, Dr. Linville.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Bear with me here for a second because this is going to take a while, but they waited for us for a little while up there in the gallery. And I'm joined in the South Gallery by the Milton Middle School varsity football team, who's back-to-back county champions, and I'm going to read every last one of their names since they waited a while. We've got Brody Simpkins, Alex Carroll, Brody Mabry, Mason Sammons, Brady Ballou, Dylan Plymel, Spencer Davis, Logan Scholl, Andrew Lafton, Cody Folks, Bryce Hess, Zayden Adkins, Cam Wallace, Chris Adkins, Braxton Parsons, Tyler Watkins, Trace Reed, Tayton Nelson, Zayden Totten, Braxton Johnson, Jake Sammons, Nick Burns, Bryce Chapman, Landon Holly, Levi Reed, Kian Shelton, Briar Bailey, Cole Harshbarger, Hudson Wortman, Will Price, Connor Huff, hang on, there's more, Braylon Wing, Eli Thompson, Jake Asbury, Mason Wooten, Peyton Eggleton, Caleb Dite, Tristan Bentley, Wyatt Miller, Brody Crawford, Cody Johnson, Braden Benedict, Johnny Browning, Max Willett, Ben Thompson, Carson Cobb, Samuel Hatfield, Liam Hancock, Owen Persinger, Corey Spurlock, Connor Gray, Maddox Winter, Reese Toller, Aiden Spence, Caleb Crawford, Braxton Nichols, Grayson McAllister, Sawyer Lane, and Landon Mays, Jonathan Hamilton, and Dyson Hamilton. They're joined by head coach Corey Woomer with assistant coaches Chris Lease, Hunter Niebergall, Preston Rose, Tim Rolfe, and Roger Woomer. Would the House please make the back-to-back Cabell County football champions welcome?
Gentleman from the 45th, Douglas Brooks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my privilege to introduce the gentleman today who's not only a constituent, former co-worker, and a very dear friend of mine. He's in the West Gallery. If the House would make my friend Matt Gibson feel welcome.
Further introductions. Lady from the 49th, Douglas Tully.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think we have actually two members that were absent that were supposed to introduce pages today. So if Carter Williams from Peterstown Middle School will stand up, and Macy Lockhart from Spring Valley High School will stand up, please. Thank you.
Further introductions. If not, miscellaneous business. Gentleman from the 8th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move, subject to announcements, that the House adjourn until 11 a.m. Monday, January 30th, 2023.
Are there announcements? Gentleman from the 97th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm excited to announce that your Committee on Finance will meet today, January 27th, immediately after floor session in the Finance Committee room. There will be two agencies presenting their budget, Secretary of State and Attorney General. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman from the 51st, Douglas Fast.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Judiciary will meet Monday, January 30 at 3 p.m. in the committee meeting room. The Republicans will caucus at 2:30 p.m. in the chairman's office. The agenda will be posted.
Gentleman from the 68th, Douglas Phillips.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Government Organization will meet Monday, January 30th at 1 p.m. in the Government Organization Committee Room, 215E. Republicans will caucus in the chair's office at 12:45. The agenda will be posted.
Gentleman from the 43rd, Douglas Tony.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Education will meet Monday, January the 30th at 2 p.m. in the Education Committee Room. The agenda is posted.
Lady from the 70th, Douglas Petito.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Committee on Senior Children Family Issues will meet today at 10:30 in the Judiciary Committee Room, and the caucus for that committee will meet at 10:15 in the Judiciary Room. Thank you.
Gentleman from the 98th, Douglas Espinoza.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. By way of announcement, I'd like to call your attention to a schedule that's on your desk for the YLA 8th grade youth and government seminars. Earlier this week, we had students from Wetzel and Wyoming counties, and in addition to participating in that program, those students had an opportunity to have dinner with members representing their counties. This coming Monday through Wednesday, we'll have students from Lewis, Mason, McDowell, Putnam, and Tyler counties. You'll see there on the schedule on Tuesday the 31st at 6 p.m. there is a dinner plan. So if you have students that attend those counties, would encourage you to RSVP to the address listed on this form. Let them know that you'd like to attend. If you don't have students in any of the counties that are listed there, but you'd be interested in spending a little time with students at dinner, I'd also reach out, let them know you'd be interested in that, and I'm sure they'd be happy to accommodate you if you're available. I think you'll find the time with those students very rewarding. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Are there further announcements? If not, the question is on the motion that the House stand adjourned at 11 a.m. Monday. Those in favor of the motion will please say aye. Those opposed will please say no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. We are adjourned at 11 a.m. Monday morning.